We're live.
How are you?
Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of the GSP podcast. Today, we're going to talk about Cilléin going to UKs and some of the questions that came through on Instagram about his prep for UKs. And I suppose what's going to be going on through UKs and all that. So I have to get them on my phone here. But the first one I actually remember is to talk about your nutrition for UKs. So, I suppose I'm assuming people are talking about what you do for the competition, throughout the competition. I'd say start there, maybe start the night before. Day one,
Yeah, so basically the competition starts on Saturday. So I'm flying over on Thursday just so I can make sure I get like a full day of eating before the competition. I just find like when you're traveling and stuff, like it can really make it hard to make sure you're getting a full amount. And I don't like the idea of not hitting my full calories and then, trying to compete the next day. So I'll get like.
Can I butt in? What would you do? What would you do for that day that you're traveling?
I'm traveling.
Are you going early or late? What's the story?
I'm going early in the day, so I try and just I know it's not going to be perfect, so I'm willing to kind of compromise. I'll probably have to get like a burger and chips at some place where, especially especially like when you're kind of like going through like the airports and that. I always look to make sure I have carbohydrates, rice preferably, and then some form of beef down on top of it, and then whatever as long as it kind of fits that description as well with a couple of vegetables and stuff. That's usually what my go-to would be like. But if you have to get chips or something, you do what you got to do. Not ideal, but it's still it'll work. So I just kind of thinking back from last year. I know the time, the first 2 days are starting a lot later than they were last year. So I'm just very conscious. As I said before, I lost about 9 kilos last year over the 3 days, just because you just don't get that much time to eat. So. I've been a lot more thoughtful about the supplements that I'm bringing over with me, just to make sure I can try and help mitigate those problems, just with various different things. So I think when we're flying over there, when we go over, the competition will be starting at 5, but we have to leave the hotel at I think 12:30 or something. So they were like, we'll have time to get food and everything there, but it's really just going to be trying to eat enough to keep myself fueled, but not eating too much that I'm going to be sluggish going into the competition. If you know what I mean? Especially it'll be late until we get home as well. So I'd probably try and maybe get some sushi or something like that if it was possible. I find that's quite easy because small little bites. You got your meat source, and you got your rice and that there. And I find that's what I was kind of eating usually at the last year. It was just kind of sushi at the end of the day.
It's easy to get down.
So easy to get, especially with the sauce and stuff. And you're not really thinking about it. You're just kind of picking away at it. So it's a lot more manageable. Because one thing as well is just with all the supplements taken, between the different I use the R4 stuff and the Cerberus intra workout and that. It's quite a lot on the stomach, throughout the day, especially when you're exerting yourself. So it can be quite hard to actually sit down and eat a really big meal.
Yeah. So say between day 1 and 2 in particular, you're going to be home late for day 1, up early to get ready for day 2. So are you going to get up early and just eat a massive breakfast and try and get a lunch before you leave the hotel maybe?
If I can get a lunch, definitely, I'll probably, getting a lunch would definitely be needed considering it starts at 5. I know last year for the breakfast I was eating 6 eggs, 2 slices of bacon, 2 slices of toast. I'd have about 2 big portions of cereal, and then I was having banana, cup of coffee. It was a fairly big breakfast, and I'd take my time. I'd be sitting there for about maybe an hour, maybe 40 minutes, just to eat, just so I make sure I could actually it'd be kind of just more slow grazing for that hour, just so I can get enough
not used to that. You see, you'd have it done in.
I'd usually be like that as well. But I was kind of I knew myself that I had to take my time to make sure I could get in,
get the food
get the whole thing. So I kind of sped. If I rushed through it and then left the restaurant, where they were serving food, maybe an hour, I'm gonna be hungry again. You know what I mean? So I'd rather just slowly just eat for an hour. Because I'd be very much a speed eater, but I know that I'll get hungry very quick then after that. So it's just trying to eat as much as I could in the morning time.
And then so you'll get to the arena around 1 o'clock and you're not competing till 5. What happens in between that time?
We'd have to do TV links, stuff like that. So I'm assuming we will have a chance to eat before that, and I'm assuming that. So I'll have to find out a little bit more.
So will you carry some snacks around in your singlet or something? Just have them tucked in there somewhere.
I'll definitely be going to the shop on the Friday to get just like loads of just like bananas, bars, kind of just like isotonic drinks.
Easy stuff to.
Easy stuff. Like yogurts as well. Like I'll definitely top up and leave that all in my bag so it's ready, and then try and like just get something a little bit more substantial then before the 5 o'clock start.
It's pretty. To a degree, it's pretty straightforward. Like, it's just about being prepared, isn't it?
But yeah, being prepared and then trying to make the best of what you got. I feel like that's the way I got to view it. Like, it's definitely not going to be perfect. So
No, it's not.
I don't want to stress myself out thinking, oh, I've got to be eating this, that, or whatever. I'm just going to go to like just listen to my body and like try and like do as much as I can to try and help with those things.
Yeah. So like day 1 and 2 then as well. Like you're finished competing around 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
What happens from 9 till bedtime food wise? I'm going to dig deep here because people want to know. I think.
Yeah. So I know
it's easy to get lost in like I'm just going to do this and this.
Yeah. So I think we have like the meet and greets or 9:30, and then probably leave there about like 10:15. So at that time, I don't know. Like I remember like last year at UK's, the meet and greets were at like 5 until like 6:30 or like 6 till 7:30, something like that. And we were like you didn't really get a chance to eat because you're constantly just talking to people and stuff. Like you don't really get much of a chance to stop. And then
Would you have a shake before it starts?
No, I mean like literally, it's kind of like they finish up the events, and then it's like the people who have to go to the athlete meeting, you go straight up there. You go straight up there because it was only really like the people who qualify into the next day that would do the athlete meeting. So the people who didn't qualify, they can do what they want, but you literally like you're still in your singlet. You haven't like you might not have even recovered from the last event. You just go straight up. And you're like standing there and you talk to the people and stuff like so. It's you're distracted from talking to people, but then it's just like straight away. Then the hotel we were staying last year was part of the arena, so you could just go straight upstairs. But we got like a bus ride, which is about like 20 minutes away from the arena. So
you'll probably want to have something ready to go.
I'll probably use like the Clean Gain shake from Platinum, just because like it's about a full meal in one shake from 2 scoops. Like so, I'll have that ready and then in my shake, and then just throw the water in or throw some milk in, and then have that on the bus journey home. Just so I'm not like left like I'm very wary of like when you're hungry and you put in a lot of effort that your body is literally just eating away at itself in order to try and get like just to keep the main functions going. Like so, that's absolutely not what you want, especially for like a 3-day competition.
No, definitely not. Yeah, that's it's a tough one. Like, there's no doubt about it. That's really
because again, you don't want to be eating shit food as well, because that's not going to help anything. Like like you see some people and it's like they're just eating
jellies and
burgers and jellies, burgers and chips, pizzas, and I'm just like that is really not what I want to be taking when I'm trying to like get my body.
I think it's one of the worst things. Like we spoke about this before, is when you want to try and get the carbohydrates in and you want to get the fats and stuff in to replenish, but it is still the quality of that. And if you're just horsing shitty burger and chips and like pizza into you, okay, if it's the only option, like you said there, when you're traveling that you have, then it's the only option you have. But there are options. There are better.
An interesting one, just to touch on that. Like, I know I'd be on the same kind of with you. Like I'd say, not eating too much shit food and keep it as clean as possible and all that. Listen to Andrew Clayton on the EFTS podcast. He's done an ultra marathon, but I don't think he actually completed it, but he was doing it. And I think like at the 30-odd mile mark or something like that, he got a slice of pizza, and he was trying to avoid shit foods. And it's kind of like we're talking about here, but he said having that slice of pizza was like kicking a turbo in.
Really,
and he just gained so much energy because his body was just crying out for food. So like it just, I don't know, like maybe there's something to a small bit of just to get some calories in.
I think like in the moment when you're like in that situation, because like all those calories are going to go straight into being like use as work. But I feel like when you're looking for calories for energy and calories for recovery are very much different things. Like because the calories that may give you energy, if you were looked at for recovery, that might just turn into like fat, and that might just make you sluggish. But if I feel like there's a bit of a difference.
That's a good point.
It's like when you see like again the lads who are stuffing jellies into themselves in between. I did that at powerlifting. It was the jelly bean queen until I realized your sugar crash from that.
So bad.
And it doesn't actually, it's giving you a false sense of energy. No, if it gets you through something, then fair enough. But there are other options that you can do in order to get that energy. And
just got to plan ahead.
Just got to plan ahead. I know we said before, like practicing that stuff in your training, your heavy training sessions. Don't just decide to go into your 3-day competition and have this new game plan that's
yeah. Oh yeah, look,
yeah.
it'd be something you would 100%.
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was
again
Yeah,
it's people ultra marathon's a bit of a different
It is.
beast.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he, I think I remember listening to him saying is that he's like, if there was one thing he would have done differently, it would have been eat more shit throughout.
Throughout doing
Marathon,
that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I'd say if I was competing and let's say it was like halfway through the day and I was really hungry and there was pizza there, I would definitely eat the
It's
pizza.
nice, yeah.
Because I know that is going to get used up and give me energy.
Yeah.
But
UK's, as far as a strength event, is nearly likened to a bit of a marathon.
yeah, it is.
Over the 3 days, you're
100%.
trying to keep going.
Yeah.
If you're at day 3 and you're fucking starved midway, slice of pizza would be no harm. I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just an interesting kind of segue into that. It just made me think a little bit. Nothing else as far as like hydration. Then, what are you doing for hydration?
Hydration. So
Another important topic.
I usually drink about 6 or 8 liters of water a day. Anyways, so I usually in the morning time, especially after my heavy training session. So I do like the mornings after. I'd take like 2 electrolyte tablets first thing in the morning, just because like I find that really kind of wakes me up a lot. Like just getting all, especially because you're so much taken out of you. So I'll probably take like 2 scoops of the Cerberus intra-workout that I have left. Using that, and then like got the Platinum R4, great for recovery. It's like a whole meal in like a juice drink. So I'll be using that throughout the day as well. Because I mean, really staying on top of your electrolytes is so important. Like I find I can't really mentally function if I'm depleted of those things. Like I feel like they can really make a big difference on the day. Like so, again, it can be difficult to stay on top because even I was still drinking as much as I was, like get my 6 or 8 liters, but I was still very dehydrated. Like my urine was still quite yellow, just because like you're actually just using up that much of your fluids and stuff like.
But see, like if your normal running rate is 6 to 8 liters,
So when you're
it's
doing
probably
all
gonna be
that,
10 to 12.
10 to 12
Do you know what I mean?
like,
and again, the hydration tablets are a big thing. Something I'm really pushing with people at the moment, especially with the humidity levels, and I find they help myself a lot. But just to retain
a bit more, like I feel a lot of people I feel like they underestimate the importance of actually getting electrolytes in. And they think they can just keep drinking water and like that'll be fine. Like, but it's like really need to get those. Even like I said before with the Lucozade in the water, like I'll probably just get like a big 5 liter of water and just get like maybe 1 or 2 bottles of Lucozade, throw it in there, and I could just be, because then you're getting a bit of carbs as well as you're rehydrating.
Okay, I think we've covered food fairly extensively there. Another question then from Gage actually. What's your prep routine days before competing? Probably should have asked that before the food leading into the comp. But what are you doing? Like I suppose now it's Thursday, Friday, Friday even.
I'd definitely be like thinking about it a lot. Like one thing I've been really trying to put more effort in since UK's last year is just like getting better control of like my sympathetic nervous system, and like just like using like visualization techniques and just like small triggers just to be able to like kickstart that adrenaline rush, but then also just being like pushing it down. So this week I've been like visualizing, but not really like just give myself small little bits of it, like adrenaline, like nothing like too crazy, but just like to think about, just build up the excitement in my body, just so I know then that I can build it up to a point that I can just like drip feed it out of myself whenever it's needed. Because for 3-day competition, if you just dump out all of your adrenaline, then you're literally going to be screwed. Like, so I think it's like I always look back, like my dad was a coach for sports back home in Ballina, and he had a team that were in a blitz. And I remember I was there helping him out, and he said it's just like none of you can celebrate until we actually win, because like you'd see other people they'd win like a knockout game when they get into the qualifiers and semi-finals, and afterwards they're all like cheering and screaming and hugging each other. My dad always says like you stay calm, like because you haven't won anything yet, like just stay focused on the mission. And when it got to the finals, the 2 teams, my dad's team were calm and they won it. The other team were screaming, shouting, whatever. And when we actually got to the finals, my dad's team could keep their composure because they hadn't dumped everything out. While the other team, they were falling apart, and then things started to go their way, and then started getting bitter, and they were like trying to turn against each other and stuff like so. That is kind of like one thing I always like try and keep my mind in a competition like this, is just like you need to just stay focused and just take small victories as they come, but like you got to stay kind of like focused on the overall goal.
The end goal.
Yeah, like just win the competition.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to put that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I suppose that's like, do you do anything different then as far as like recovery goes in these last few days?
No,
or?
I mean, I don't see, because like, you know, I don't see the point of like say in doing an increase of mobility work right now, because my body is set in the way that it is. So if I start to spend more time in mobility, then I'm going to change how my body is right now, and I don't like, that's not what you want to do just before competition. Like it's supposed to be implemented at the start. So like I'm still like, keeping active, like still walking. Like the worst thing you want to be doing is just sitting down, not doing anything. Like I'm still keeping active. I'm still doing like my regular bits of recovery. I'm just trying to like treat things as normally as I can, kind of going into this. Like obviously with training as well. I was in the gym Sunday for a light session. I'll do a light session today, and then the rest of them just kind of like active recovery, just keep the body moving.
Okay, essentially changing nothing.
Yeah.
Except for not training as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Alan O'Mahony asked, you kind of touched on it there, do you visualize before comp, Cilléin?
Yeah.
I know you're going to smash it.
Yeah.
So I suppose go into your visualization. Like what are you doing? What are you thinking of?
For me, I do it just kind of like random parts of the day, or I just kind of just like to sit there. I'll just close my eyes, just focus on my breathing, and then I just put myself in that position, and I just kind of let myself just feel those feelings as I would as I'm going out there. And again, not letting my feelings run wild though at the same time, and getting all like chaotic and stuff, but just familiarizing myself with everything I'm doing, and just taking like, because there's a lot of different events, and I feel like you don't want to like overlook one event and not put as much thought in, because like that event is equal amount of points as the rest of them. So you just gotta like try and treat each one exactly like the other.
Your sister Danielle asked,
Hey, Danielle.
what event you're most excited for? What events you're most excited for?
Caro, definitely Caro. Like I've done that once. It was a really really cool
Yeah,
event.
yeah.
It looks class. Like
It looks class.
yeah. What was the
That was Islands 2 years ago, wasn't it? I think?
2 years ago?
Yeah.
What was the events we have? I always love doing stones. Definitely, yeah.
Which, if you're qualified for a day 2, you're not going to do, Cilléin, right?
Yeah, so
You're gonna-
you don't need to like those.
So
We'll see how it goes.
Cilléin wants to win stones because Cilléin likes winning stones. But I've told Cilléin that if he's already qualified for the final, it's in day 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not doing stones. So if anyone's there and Cilléin decides to go for stones, I'll boo him.
Yeah. I'll just purposely do bad in one of the other events. Just so I can just
Zero on other events.
God,
just
here we go.
so I do stones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like they're all like I like them all. Like, well, I won't say all of them. I like most of them. I think the wheelbarrow one would be pretty cool as well. It'd be interesting. Like one thing I'm excited for, but also not looking forward to, is doing the car deadlift hold at the end, because like it's going to be the last competition of 3 days, and it's like especially if there's 4 cars going out at a time, so be 4 people at a time. The last group of people, it could come down to whoever holds on the longest is going to win. You know what I mean? Especially if you've got like a tight competition where it could be really anybody's depending on the last one. I feel like that, like,
Oh, it could be a massive turning point.
yeah,
like.
turning point. Yeah, 'cause I mean, like, let's say if you got like 4 people going up in the last heat, and every single one of those people could actually win, depending on the outcome of this event. That for me, I feel like it's very exciting, but also kind of terrifying, because like it's a car deadlift with straps, and you really just don't know how long that can go on for. So I'm excited to see how far I can push myself on that, because it's really just about eating pain.
It's just about
just
eating
eating
pain.
pain.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. So
Finding that happy place, huh?
Yeah, it's just how much pain you can take.
it really
that's all
is.
Like,
It's
who's willing to take the most?
especially with the straps, because like it just
They cut into you.
it's just you can hold on to a lot longer that way. Like so, I feel like that's going to be a very interesting end to it.
Yeah, it's a lot of people don't like it. I kind of like it because I like to see who wants it most.
Yeah, I
And it
think
really
so
is an
too.
event of who wants it most. Like,
I feel when you really kind of just try and think about what they're doing in that event, and you're just torturing yourself.
it's torture.
Right?
It's
literally
torture
just
event.
torturing yourself.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah.
Right. One more question then, Cilléin, and we'll wrap this one up. What are some things, Dave Squats, what are some things you think that UKs do really well, and other things you think that they need to improve on?
one thing I think they do well is the fact that like it's quite easy to kind of interact with the crowd. I found, like, especially like even if like if you're not doing an event, you can literally just kind of like, you know, walk around along the sides and you can kind of like talk to people and stuff, like, and I feel like that, like, that's definitely one like a really good thing. And I think the fact as well that you're getting to compete for 3 days in a row, or like there's no other competition that does that, like, and I just think that's like a really cool thing, like, especially for an athlete to have to put yourself through it 3 days in a row, and for like it to get harder after each 3 days.
World is kind of like that, but they get a day off before the final.
They get a day off. Like,
and there's only 2 events a day.
Usually 2 events a day, and I think like the finals is like 2 days with 3 events.
Yeah, it is different. It's very different.
Worlds is definitely getting more condensed from where it was, because it used to be like spread out over 2 weeks, and now I think the whole thing's done within 6 or 7 days.
Yeah.
So it is starting to kind of shift a little bit more that way, but yeah, I mean, like, I feel like it's a very good interactive one, especially for like, you know, people like me who've been up and coming in the sport. It's a good way to kind of get exposure and notice. Like, I mean, like, I probably wouldn't have gotten that Giants Live invite if I hadn't done UKs and done as, you know, as well as I did in UKs. Like, so that's the, you know, the one thing that I definitely have to be grateful for. Like, it's definitely opened up a lot of doors for me. Things that maybe you could do well, better on. I don't know, maybe just a bit more kind of clarity on some things, to say the least. I feel like for the fans, it's definitely, they get a lot out of their money's worth. I feel like for a fan, it's definitely a really good experience. I'm definitely not a fan of the one-on, like, when you got like person-on-person events. Like on the last day, they got the fucking bull ring wrestling match. So there's one person standing in a circle and then 2 people holding on to a ring, and you're trying to pull the person who's in the center circle out of it. And I just don't think that's strongman. I just don't think it should be in the sport, because it's not really down to strength. It's more about just down to body weight and technique. And yeah, again, it looks good, really good for the crowds, but I just feel like from an athlete perspective and injury prevention, I just don't think it's good, because, like, you know, at the end of the day, if any of us hurt ourselves, we're the ones that are going to be out of it. You know, like, also strongman will still benefit from it, the crowd will still benefit from it, but, you know, that's one person's career potentially ruined over the events that could easily be avoided.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think the wrestling events are a strongman thing anymore.
No,
I think that's kind of
I feel like
thing of the past. I think
things a bit backwards. So yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I really say is just like sometimes they pick events that I feel like don't fit, like they're not thinking of the athletes. I feel like that's the best way to think. I think it's more like they're just more focusing on the spectacle and TV show of it instead of looking at the sport inside of it.
Yeah, and I will say, from having sat in the stands last year, it is a very good show for the fans. It's really entertaining. Like, it is.
Yeah, definitely.
But like I said, I know as being a coach, and I can tell, as you know, a former athlete kind of. I don't know what I am at this stage. It's not, for me, it's not the best environment for the athletes. I think other big promoters do a better job there, for sure, for the athlete's sake. But it's a really good show. Yeah, like if you're a fan and you want to go watch good strongman weekend, it's class to go watch.
I think that's where the balance needs to come into it, though, because like if you want it, you could mask that as a modern day gladiators, which is fine, but the gladiators used to die at the end of it. It was great for everyone watching. But you know, but if the athlete is screwed at the end of it, or they're more prone to injury because of certain events or very, very fast, less recovery times. You know, I get it. Like you said, from being a fan to watching it, like you used to love watching it on the telly when we were kids. And when you go to watch a show, it's great. But from an athlete's perspective, I think there has to become more balance. I think
more balance. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. But there's a lot to gain as an athlete doing UKs.
100%.
So much. Like, I mean, you really learn a lot about yourself when you have to, you know, do so much over such a short space of time. Like, you really can learn a lot about yourself. But again,
I think as well, like the weight of the competitions these days now, like 20 years ago, the weights of the lads were doing is what probably the lightweight, middleweight women are doing now. Do you know? So I think that has to be taken into account as well. You know, it's not like, okay, you might think it's what it was 20 years ago, but it's really far. It isn't. It's a lot heavier.
Yeah. I suppose that's sport evolving. Yeah. But again, when you're over a 3-day period.
Yeah. So there has to be some concession, I think.
Yeah. 100%.
That's just my POV.
Yeah. No, 100%. Anything else you want to add about the weekend before we wrap this one up?
Don't think so. I just want to do it now. I'm just fucking. It's been 17 weeks training for this one show. Like haven't competed properly in 9 months. Like I did Britain's, but I didn't prep for that. Like it was just more of a training session. But yeah, I haven't competed in 9 months. So I feel like there's definitely like almost like a question mark over where I am right now. So I'm just very excited to kind of find out where that is.
Yeah. It's I think as an athlete, it's a good thing to have that question marks over yourself because you're going in with an open playbook and it's like, right, where can I go from here? Like, you have no limit based on what you've just done a while back or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually.
You've done a lot of building, a lot of work since the last time you competed properly, I suppose, which is Ireland's last year that you prepped for a competition. So like, expecting you to be a lot better.
Hey, no pressure, Cilléin.
Or me and
Do
you have
better,
both failed in
Cilléin.
this prep, like,
Do better.
No, I'm sure you're expecting the same from yourself. Like 9 months is a long time.
Yeah. I think like last year when I went to UK's, when I got on the plane, I definitely had like a lot of imposter syndrome. I was just like, I'm fucking going over competing against Gavin Bilton and Paul Smith. I was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, so I was definitely very timid. Even like for like the first, got there the day before and being around people. And the first day I was very much just standoffish. Like, but I think for me it was definitely when on the last day when I think it was like after the third event, and I was getting the rub down by the physio and the Lewis Jack beside me, and then Joe Oliver comes in and he's like, "Oh, you're in second place," and I thought he was talking to Lewis, like, and then he was like, "No, you're in second place." I was like, "In that event?" He was like, "No, overall, you're in second." I was like, "What the fuck?" I kind of wish you didn't tell me.
Yeah, you're almost
I feel like that's when I started putting more pressure on myself, and I feel like
Instead of relaxing.
I used up a lot of my adrenaline then because I was just like, I've got to get this done kind of thing. And I was like, I was very sporadic from then on.
It's experience though.
It's
experience, like you won't make that mistake again this year.
No, 100%.
Probably because you won't feel that you won't have that imposter syndrome essentially. Like, you'll feel you belong now going over after such a good performance and you belong in that lineup. Like, so
I think it's hard as well because you would have been, correct me if I'm wrong, but who was the last Irishman to be representing over there at UK's? Would have been Pat for a number of years.
Matt McKeegan and Matt McCoy, they were the ones that were there. They were there the year before. Yeah.
And they're all seasoned, so it would have been very easy for you to kind of, I can well imagine.
Internationally seasoned
as
well.
They were internationally seasoned for you to literally just rock up and go, "Hey, it's Cilléin," and all these guys, I suppose, like the guys you were up against, would never have heard of you, most likely.
Definitely not.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
But now everyone will know who you're going over, so definitely puts you in a different place. You won't freak out now if you're sitting second or first on the last day.
Yeah, better not.
Yeah, better not. Right, okay. I think that's it, folks.
Cool.
So,
bye.
Thanks very much.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, that didn't even stop. It's fine. We didn't say anything stupid. I'm leaving it in.